Calling to order the Placerville Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. The clock on the wall. They all agree that it's now 6 p.m., so we are called to order. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Rivas, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carter?
Here.
We'll note Chair Friend is absent. Vice Chair Keeney?
Here.
We will note that Commissioner Lepper is absent. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Mr. Rivas, is your microphone on?
Yes.
Okay, I just was having a little trouble hearing you.
Sure.
Great. And going down the agenda, item number 3 is for a closed session report, for which we have none. Next item of business is to adopt our agenda for this evening. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I will move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And a second? Mr. Smith, would you care to make a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I adopted the agenda with no changes. The next item of business is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by general consent unless a commission requests a roll call vote or any member of the commission or staff or audience wishes to remove an item for discussion. And on our consent calendar, it's to approve the minutes from the regular Planning Commission meeting on October 3rd, 2023. Does anyone want to pull anything from the minutes?
I would like to pull the minutes, please.
You would?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So moving on then to item 6, the items pulled from the consent calendar. Oh, would anyone else like to pull the minutes from the consent? Any other issues? Mr. Smith?
I have no issues.
Okay, so let's address the items pulled from the consent calendar, the minutes. And Mr. Carter, what was your concern?
So I have a couple of things. First is item 10.1, the site plan review for the Bank of America exterior lighting. Under our findings, number 2 and item number 2, the project site APN 003, we corrected that in that APN number. Needs to be corrected to 003072034 on that item. So
Which page?
that was on page 2 of
Page
8, I
2?
apologize. Item number 2.
Okay,
We did correct that
did.
APN number during
but
that
the
finding.
incorrect one got carried over to the
That
minutes?
is correct, yeah. So in the minutes should reflect 003072034 on that APN number. The next one is on page 5. Also, item number 2, findings in support, that SPR should be 23-15, not 23-13. I was looking at that. I think there's an inconsistency in that site plan review number. Everything else refers to SPR 23-15 and the rest of that finding.
You said finding number 2?
Yeah, the very first finding, make following findings in support of SPR 23- and it says 13, that should be 23-15.
That is correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to make that change also. Let's see here. Now, the next one is on page 6. Let's see here, of that same finding. This is in reference to the Main Street lighting. So, item number 3 on the conditions of approval, we had discussed that, and in the ending of the motion, Commissioner Keeney had, I had made a friendly amendment to that, and they had agreed, and it's listed there at the bottom, but the language for condition number 2, that should say the language for condition number 3. So I think some things got changed around. So where it says Commissioner Carter offered an amendment to the motion recommending that hours of operation language for condition number 3, if that makes sense to staff?
So over on
Okay.
page 7.
On page 7, yeah, so that should reference condition number 3. And then there is, let's see here, inconsistency somewhere. Let me find this where this was. Men's that baptized. Sorry. Oh, no. So moving back up to number 10 on the findings. In the minutes, it says installation of the light shall be in continuous lines with minimal gaps as a result of non-participation of property owners. I did go back and watch the video, and that is not the wording that Commissioner Keeney did in her motion. The exact wording that she did in the motion was installation of the light shall be in continuous runs of lights with no breaks in continuity as a result of non-participation by property owners. So I wanted to make sure that we made that clear in our recommendation, that our intention was that there was no breaks, not minimal breaks. Is that, so yeah, so the actual wording was installation of the light shall be in continuous runs of lights with no breaks in continuity as a result of non-participation by property owners. So those were the changes that I would like to make to the minutes.
Thank you very much for that thorough review. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
I would just concur in the changes.
Okay,
They should be
great.
amended.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. So with those changes, then I would like a motion to, can we get a motion to approve the amended minutes of the meeting of October 3rd?
I would move to adopt the minutes as amended.
As
And I'll
amended.
second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. As amended. All right, moving on to item 7. This is items of interest to the public, public comments, non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda and the subject matter is within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. State law prohibits commission from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the Planning Commission under specified circumstances. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission on something not on our agenda tonight? Thank you. Seeing no one, we'll move on to number 8, written communications, non-agenda items. This is for written comments received on non-agenda items pertaining to the business within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. These are not items for discussion, but can be referred to staff for consideration. Do we have any written communications on non-agenda items?
We have none.
None. Okay. Thank you. Number 9 is for presentations and educational workshop sessions. We are not having any workshops or presentations this evening. Okay, and so now we'll move on to item 10, environmental assessments and public hearings, of which we have 3 tonight. The first one is a site plan review, SPR 2311. It's a historic district review. Consideration of a site plan review application within the single-family residential/historic district zone to modify an existing single-family residence to 1, remove and replace previously repaired but not consistent siding with consistent wood lap siding, remove and replace or repair old wood lap siding with in-kind materials, find the project categorically exempt from CEQA, and the location is 2968 Coloma Street in Placerville. And Ms. Kristen Hunter, you have the staff report, so I'll turn it over to you, Kristen.
Thank you. So SPR 23-11 is a request to modify the exterior of an existing single-family dwelling, removing previously repaired, inconsistent siding and old siding within the Spring Street, Coloma Street Historic District. Following completion of the siding replacement, the applicant has proposed to paint the siding white and the trim black. There are 2 single-family dwellings located on the subject parcel, addressed 2968 Coloma Street, which is the focus of SPR 23-11, and 2925 Wood Street. Neither dwelling is located in the city, is included in the city's historic resources inventory or the state or national register of historic places. 2925 Wood Street modifications are included in a separate application, SPR 23-12, which is slated to come before the commission on November 7th. The subject dwelling, 2968 Coloma Street, was constructed in 1938 and appears to be a mix of craftsman and bungalow-style architecture. Key features include the 3-in-1 windows along the front elevation, a prominent stone chimney, covered front porch, and woodlap siding. It is the opinion of staff that the project is consistent with the housing, community design, and natural, cultural, and scenic resources sections of the general plan, in that the project will continue the life and existing use of a single-family dwelling, will replace removed siding with woodlap siding fitting the majority of the dwelling and in a manner consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards, and will improve the pedestrian experience from the right-of-way. Further, the project is consistent with the intent, purpose, and criteria of zoning ordinance sections 10-4-9, site plan review, and 10-4-10, historic buildings in the city. Lastly, the project is consistent with the City of Placerville Development Guide. Of note, it is the opinion of staff that the use of white for siding and black trim is a more modern color scheme. As such, staff would recommend the use of an alternative trim color. However, overall, the exterior modifications would visually enhance the dwelling and improve the pedestrian experience. The request is categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA Guidelines, Section 15301, Existing Facilities, and Section 15331, Historical Resource Restoration and Rehabilitation, in that it involves repair to an existing structure that will result in no expansion of the existing single-family use, and that the project would be completed in a manner consistent with SOI standards. As such, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the staff report as part of the public record, make the findings in support of the SPR 23-11 request, and conditionally approve SPR 23-11 located at 2968 Coloma Street based on the project information and the findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in Attachment 1 of the staff report. This concludes staff's report on SPR 23-11.
Thank you very much. To either commissioner, do you have questions for staff at this time?
I do. I just wanted to ask you about the reference to in-kind siding, that it's to be replaced with the same type or category of materials. Did you review any samples? Do you have any samples to show us what they have in mind?
I do not have a sample of what will be used. However, I know the applicant is in the audience, and I know they have selected a location that they will get it's wood siding. But the applicant provided a sample of the existing siding to be replaced, which actually is up there on the podium with you.
This sample is from the...
From the existing house.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So we have a sample to look at. So this is the material.
That's the existing material.
That's the existing material. So
This is
That
the
is what will be
material that was
matched.
thought to have been put on about the 1990s. Is that right?
No, this is the older
Before.
siding. Yes, this is what would be matched.
Okay. Thank you.
any further questions? I want to make sure I'm clear on the scope then. We've got several photos that were in part of the submittal. And so when I look at, for example, this photo kind of from, I think that's, I did go drive by the site, so I think that's the southeast corner approximately. Is all the siding going to be replaced eventually, or is there some existing siding that can stay, that is not too deteriorated?
My understanding is that there is some existing siding that could stay. The siding that was replaced in the mid-'90s, or what we estimate was replaced in the mid-'90s, would be removed and replaced with...
And what is that? That material is not wood? Is it?
Don't believe so.
Okay, it's not, you don't know. I'll ask the
Yeah.
applicant.
And I believe they are replacing any dry rot or damaged siding to match.
Okay. Hopefully, is the applicant here tonight? Great. Any other questions at this time? Okay, at this point, we would like the applicant to come up to the podium, and if you want to add anything to what's already in your application and the job description, we'd love to hear it. I want to thank you for taking the time to come down and talk to us. It always sometimes we have oddball questions, and it's just great to have all that taken care of during this public hearing. So thank you.
Appreciate that. And I'm Alan Ming. Pleasure to meet y'all, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. May.
And you'll probably be seeing more of me, so this is a good trial run, if nothing else. You get to know me. And I want to hire you to do my open houses. That was a great narrative property. Just to clarify, the siding that was replaced approximately in the 90s is kind of that fiber board. It's deteriorating. It's, I think, one of the pictures you can see it's starting to peel off. It's a different size, different texture.
So we can see it from the street
Yeah.
side.
so
Okay, so it's,
the material didn't match, and it was a poorly done job on top of it. So most of that is failing, in addition to the fact that it doesn't match the rest of the building. The south side of the building, which you can see in that same picture, there's quite a bit of dry rot and some damage on that side, which is typical. The south side gets beat up the most. The other two sides, there's a little bit along kind of the bottom and around the windows, just some basic dry rot repair that you get over.
is that, I don't know if you can see the picture I'm holding up. These are the other two sides that,
That would be,
okay.
yeah, that's kind of the north.
And that's, we see the original siding? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then the backyard, the west side, has the least amount of damage, as it was the most protected. But not only from a cost perspective, but also just, I know from the historical standards, we're going to try to retain as much of the existing siding as possible that we're trying to match. And I believe my business partner couldn't make it. He's the one that sourced the match. I believe it's Diamond Pacific that we were able to source the matching siding. And then additionally, I know staff had comments about the white body and black trim. Kind of looking at those comments and a further reflection of the project, we did kind of come up with an alternate color scheme, which would be more of a blue-gray on the body of the house, and then the trim in white, and give it a little contrast. And I have samples if you'd like me to approach and bring those.
Yes, that was my first question for you, and I really appreciate you providing us with some samples of, this really is so helpful, and, okay, so we're,
So the gray
this
would
one,
be the body, the white would be the trim,
trim.
and then the existing door is wood, so we're just gonna refinish the door, and it would.
Okay, so we're kind of going like that, okay.
And then the roof is gonna be replaced by American Eagle. And we're doing a charcoal, the black charcoal roof, very close to what's on the picture.
That's different.
And
Yes.
that's a different application.
They're
Okay,
handling that one.
okay. A lot of work on this house. Thank you so much. I was going to ask you about the white body and dark trim. There's white and then there's white. If you go to the paint store, there are a lot of different shades. It's incredible how many different colors. And you think of much, much older houses, colonial type houses. I think white and black was maybe, it's not necessarily modern, but I'm not sure that it was a good fit for your house. But I'm glad you're going with a different color scheme. And I think that, and also I think that it will fit in better with the existing neighborhood. That was another thing, a concern I had. It's not like you have to match your neighbors, but, just a strict white and black combination might have been a little jarring.
Yeah.
But,
And having lived in a White House for a while, they're difficult to keep clean, too. So,
man, a
for a lot of
practical
the dogs.
concern.
But there's a more of a bluer house and more of a grayer house on kind of that same block. So the color we picked kind of splits the difference, so it doesn't match any of the other houses on the block.
Thank you very much. Do other commissioners have questions for the applicant at this time?
My question has been addressed, so I'm good.
I guess my questions have to do with the kind of siding that you'd put around would be consistently the same all the way around, regardless of whether it's old or new.
Correct.
The other thing is, do you have any information about the history, who owned the building initially, things like that?
We heard one story from the neighbor that he thought Yancey family may have lived there, but I don't know a lot about. I tried to look up that family a little bit, and I believe he tried to take some sugar up to Tahoe or Reno or something once. It didn't go well, but that's about the limit of the history that we've been able to find out.
One tip, because it's been years, but I've seen a early map of that section of Coloma. A great many important historic figures in town were there. Dr. Rance Reckers of the sanatorium who owned it, just as an example. So if you go to Mary Corey at the museum, they have a collection of photographs that's just massive. They're not going to list it by street numbers because the street numbers they didn't always have them, and when they did have them, they changed. But you can find it that way. The other question I had that you're not likely to have an answer to is on the top where you see the patio, the deck, it's sealed off with siding. But often in that early period of the 30s, it would have been, like lattice work and things like that to provide for ventilation in the pre-air conditioning days. Just that's one thing to explore, but it would be consistent with what you have now. That's you're proposing.
Yeah, we're open either way. I mean, having more of an open air porch certainly would save a little money on material because we have to. We're going to demo that anyway. That's all been replaced, and that's where it's failing is on the siding that's on the porch side. So if commission preferred to have just more of a traditional wood railing versus it all sealed off like that, we're certainly open.
So what you're telling us is that what you'd replace it with would basically be
Yes.
consistent with this.
Yes.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so let me make sure I understand. We'll bring it back for further discussion. Does anyone in the audience, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's
Okay, we'll let you sit down for the moment, and I'll see if anyone in the public would like to make a comment on the proposed project. Okay, seeing no comments from the public, I will close the public hearing portion of this, public comment portion of this hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and possible action. I'll start off by saying I really welcome this project. It's another chance for us to get it right, and it's a different topic. We have dealt with windows routinely, myopically, all the time. Nothing hardly else comes across on our agenda. I also am so pleased that you have volunteered to change the color scheme. That was my concern, and I think it's also something that the commission needs to address, and staff needs to work with us on the color schemes, textures, aesthetics. We've been very wrapped up about windows and other things, but the Secretary of Interior Standards clearly states that color schemes are important, and so that we have to develop a palette, but when we see a building, and even if it has evolved over the years since it was originally built, we need to respect that and make sure that we're not doing necessarily. We don't have to do an ersatz, all the way back to the beginning of when the structure was built. But we do need to respect how it may have changed over time and make sure that whatever color scheme the project proponents propose is in keeping with the style, so that we don't lose that character of the house and also the character of our the larger historical area. So I'll let the other commissioners chime in with your thoughts on this. Mr. Carter, you want to start?
Sure. I would also like to thank you for taking the time and the effort to improve this home. I think it's going to be really beautiful when you get it all done, and I think it'll be a really good addition to that area. So thank you, and for keeping true to the historic nature of the home, also replacing the siding with the like materials to the original. I really do appreciate that. As far as the color scheme, I don't tend to worry too much about color, but your point is well taken. And I trust that you'll be able to work with staff to figure out if that color scheme that you presented today is going to work, and they'll work with you on that. I don't think we need to do a set color scheme tonight. I think we can leave that to staff to work with the applicant, or do we need to?
Well, my thought was since that we could add that to the materials, the meeting materials, so it becomes a part of the record, correct? And
Staff would recommend, since it's the applicant that came forward with a suggested change from the original application, that the commission would just approve what was submitted. And we
Is staff comfortable that this new color scheme would work in your opinion?
It's very, very good. It's very similar to the color scheme I used in my house. Some years ago, when I lived at Coloma and B Street, my house was built in 1906, that house.
Okay, excellent. Then
Same scheme, and the city approved it then.
fantastic. All right, then I will do. Then yep, I'll go along with that. That's awesome. I have no problems there. And addressing Commissioner Smith's the open patio. Is that something that we can do, or I mean, is that something he can change now, or is he stuck with this scheme that's currently existing on the home? I mean, is he stuck with doing this siding on the covered porch area, or can he change that to a wood lattice matching what's on the railings there for the stairway?
It was my impression that the applicant was more than willing to address the concerns of Commissioner Smith and have it a more open air underneath the deck. So based on that was typical of 1930s.
Yeah. I think that'd be a lovely change, and I think it would really look nice on this home, but I'll leave it to you guys to discuss that more. That's all I have.
I guess I would explain that I raised it as much as a question than an answer. I don't know, looking at it. There's another house that's further up to the north that has been well restored, and theirs has an enclosed porch. But they weren't always that way because of many reasons. One is drainage that you can have a problem with, where you're going to get more dry rot. But it was this idea of before air conditioning, porches were important because that's where you went to cool off. There might be swing lattice chairs in front of you and the porch. So that's just as much a question as it is an answer. I don't know.
Well, I think I would, before requesting that change, I'd like to see a diagram of how that would change the look of this particular structure. Something that has struck home with me reviewing the Secretary of Interior standards and how they've been applied in the recent workshop. We also have to respect that over time, buildings do evolve, accumulate changes, and at the time that our historic district boundary was drawn, that intends to capture things. So if we're going to make and I think that would be a dramatic change, and it's not to say it would not be a good one, but it hadn't, to me, that's really changing the look of what we've got. And if the applicant wants to make that dramatic of change, like I said, I would need to see drawings on how that would change, the before and after, how it would change the look of the house.
I wouldn't encourage it without a foundation to show that that was the history of it. I don't know. As far as the color scheme, for black and white, there are a few houses of that era that are like that scheme of black and white on Sacramento Street right at the corner. But when I looked at this section of Coloma Street, there were a lot of variations, none that were white that I recall. So what you have is consistent with the kind of color schemes that are there. It would blend in and not be inconsistent. So I certainly support the color scheme.
Okay, any other comments? Any other questions? Well, can we make a motion then on this particular project? Anyone prepared to make a motion?
I was going to defer to,
Mr. Carter, are you
I
comfortable doing that?
Absolutely.
I can move forward.
Nope, absolutely, I certainly
Okay,
can.
here he comes. Go ahead.
All right. I will move that we adopt the staff report as part of the public record, and that we make the following findings in support of SPR 23-11, that the request is exempt from environmental review, and that it qualifies for a categorical exemption under CEQA sections 15301 and 15331. The project site, APN 001-161-014, 2968 Coloma Street, contains a single-family residential dwelling that is located within the Spring Street, Coloma Street Historic District. The project request is consistent with the general plan community design element goal C, and that the visual qualities of the proposed exterior alterations are compatible with the visual attributes of neighboring structures within the historic district. That the project request is consistent with general plan housing element goal F, policy 4, and natural, cultural, and scenic resources element goal G, policy 6. That the project request is consistent with the purpose, intent, and criteria of zoning ordinance 1049 and site plan review 10410, historical buildings within the city, and the development guide that are intended to protect the integrity of the residential historic district and individual structures located therein. That the project request is consistent with development guide design guidelines for structures within a historic district. That we conditionally approve SPR 2311 located at 2968 Coloma Street based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in attachment 1 of the staff report dated October 17th, 2023. Now, would we have to add that the paint scheme into the conditions of approval then?
I would recommend adding it under condition number 1.
Okay.
It would just be number 4.
As a number 4. So adding number 4 under item number 1, that the paint scheme as presented by the applicant at the meeting, is that sufficient?
Become a stamped approved document.
Okay,
And if I could
absolutely.
add a friendly amendment, we could also give them some leeway that it could be similar. It doesn't have to be this.
That was my
Apple
concern originally. I didn't want to, yeah.
brand, but yeah.
So similar to the paint scheme presented by the applicant at tonight's meeting? Okay.
Good.
Is staff comfortable with that?
Yes, we'll look for substantial
Okay.
consistency.
All other recommended conditions of approval remain the same? That is my motion.
So we have 9 conditions of approval, just an addition under 1
Number
for
4, for paint scheme, similar to that presented by the applicant.
presented by the applicant. Yeah, we'll just put today's date on that, so it's very clear that he brought it to the meeting. All right, we have a motion
and a second.
and a second by Mr. Smith. Thank you very much. Mr. Rivas, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
So the motion passes 3-0. I will advise that there is a 10-day appeal period, and I want to thank you again for coming down to address our concerns. And regarding the change that you discussed with Commissioner Smith, that would be another application, and we'd be happy to see you again sometime. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 10.2, site plan review SPR 23-14, bricks exterior lighting. consideration of a site plan review application within the CBD to modify the existing exterior lighting for an existing restaurant, Bricks Eats and Drinks, including addition of 4 farm-style gooseneck light fixtures along the front facade, approval of existing unpermitted market or bistro lights on the front facade, find the project exempt from CEQA. The location is 482 Main Street in Placerville. And again, Ms. Hunter has the staff report.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you, Kristen.
So SPR 23-14 is a request for the addition of exterior lighting on the front facade of Bricks Eats and Drinks located within the city's central business district within downtown Main Street. The project as proposed includes 2 styles of exterior lighting, including gooseneck farm-style lighting fixtures spaced evenly in the center of the parapet wall, and string lighting with Edison-style bulbs outlining the parapet wall. The location of the lighting is provided in Figure 2 and Attachment 2 of the staff report. All fixtures would be on a timer to be shut off after business hours. The string lights would be dimmable. It should be noted that this application was received prior to the October 3rd, 2023 approval and recommendation of Planning Commission to City Council regarding SPR 23-15, the El Dorado Community Foundation's proposal for architectural string lighting along the front roof lines of buildings along Main Street between Sacramento Street and Bedford Avenue. The proposed El Dorado Community Foundation string lights will be LED C9 warm white bulbs, while the Bricks string lighting would be 120-volt commercial-ready dimmable outdoor LED patio string lights, Edison bulb shape, in a white color. The proposed Bricks facade string lights are larger, with a larger spacing between the individual bulbs. It is the opinion of staff that the difference between the string lights are not significant as to detract from the larger architectural lighting program proposed by the foundation. As proposed, the project is consistent with the community design section of the general plan in that the lighting proposed is consistent with zoning ordinance section 10-4-16, is energy efficient, will provide an element of safety to the sidewalk, and will reduce glare and light trespass off the parcel. Furthermore, the project is consistent with the purpose, intent, and criteria of zoning ordinance sections 10-4-9, site plan review, and 10-5-14, central business district, and the City of Placerville Development Guide, Chapter 11, lighting. The request is categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15301, existing facilities, in that the minor alteration of an existing private structure would not result in an expansion of the existing use. As such, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the staff report as part of the public record, make the findings in support of SPR 23-14, and conditionally approve SPR 23-14, located at 482 Main Street, based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in Attachment 1 of the staff report. This concludes staff's report on SPR 23-14.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions for Kristen on the staff report?
I have none.
No? And Mr. Carter?
I'll wait until after we hear from the applicant.
Okay, no questions about the staff report itself. And yeah, I don't think I have any for you either. Thank you very much. Is the applicant here tonight? Would you would you like to step up to the podium and review the project that you're proposing or add anything that you want to highlight to us? Thank you very much. I'd speak into the microphone.
You're only having me come up here for adding anything to that?
So that you have nothing to add to
No, we
the staff report?
No.
I mean, to your submittal and the staff reports given.
No.
Do either of you have questions for the applicant?
I guess the upcoming lighting program that's going to be happening on Main Street, that was my main concern, is that your building is not going to match the surrounding buildings when that does happen. I was curious because I know they are different size lights. It is staff's opinion that they're going to be not enough of a difference to cause a visual, issue on that one building being different.
Yeah, when staff looked at the bulb, I mean, the bulb is slightly larger, a little more round.
Yep.
But they're both LED, and I think these are, subdued white light. So from staff's opinion, we don't see this as being something to provide a huge contrast between the larger architectural string lighting proposed by the Community Foundation.
So you guys wouldn't then be participating in that El Dorado Community Fund, you would be keeping these lights on the upper portion of your building as the whole front facade? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I guess that was my main concern with the project was, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of those bistro lights as a outline of a facade, but it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't kill it for me. Just not a huge fan, and I don't know about how it's going to look in conjunction with the new lighting scheme, but I will trust staff's opinion on that, and that was my main concern.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
I think my questions are along the lines of, you now have some string lights up there already, correct? And what you're asking for is to have the same ones, or are they designed differently?
¿Sí son las mismas? So yeah, they would basically be the same ones.
You're not going to, you're asking if they're going to change out the string lights that have been installed?
On the photograph, you have lights, string lights already present. What you're asking for is also to have string lights, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is whether what you're asking to add is different or a
No, I
replacement?
understand the question. No, I think they're about the same, this light.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, so I understand the question. The
It would be
lights
the
are about
same thing.
Yes.
So they have been installed, and your proposal is to keep them installed?
Yeah.
And so what we would be doing is just granting the permission for the lights that have already been placed onto the facade?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
How long
Vice
have you
Chair.
had them there now?
Vice Chair Keeney, if staff could just add, this is a after-the-fact application. And so we are recommending approval of these bistro lights as proposed. There is nothing preventing the applicant from working with the contractor for the foundation, and if they want to participate in that, that contractor would remove these lights at no cost to them, install the lights that are part of the larger program at no cost to them. But that would be up to the property owner on whether or not they want to change the lights out and participate. But it wouldn't be any cost to them, but it's their choice.
And I believe the Community Foundation is currently reaching out to property owners, so they may not have been contacted as of yet, so that there could be a disconnect at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, and we'll allow you to step down. Again, we appreciate you coming down here, taking the time to talk to us tonight. Any member of the audience would like to address this proposal that's before the Planning Commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public input part of the hearing and bring it back to the commission. And I'll just start with, the Edison light style, I have to disagree with the staff report. I find it to be very glaring. It creates a lot of glare, I guess is the proper term. It's very bright. The bricks name sign is internally illuminated. It's a bluish tone. There's a street light right out at the edge of the property. That's also kind of a blue color. So we've got the lighting scheme to me already seems to be a bit of a mixed bag, a little chaotic. I do like the gooseneck farm style lighting, I believe is the other way it's referred to. I drove up and down Main Street just last night to take a look at the applications, and the goosenecks are very, very popular. There are several businesses in our greater business area that have this, the Central Business District, as well as kind of some properties on either side. And so I like that consistent look. I think that the Cascada restaurant, that looks very, it's welcoming, it's warm, it's well illuminated, but And I realize that bricks is, that we're talking about a much different atmosphere and vibe, and so kind of drawing in, and you want a different look. But to my aesthetic, I don't care for it. And I would just prefer to go with the four gooseneck fixtures that have, they're shaded, they cast the light down onto the sidewalk below. And then when, the other thing is the conflict with the proposal we just considered last week. I happened to bring that with me tonight to take a look at the two fixtures side by side, and they are very different. What's proposed by the Community Foundation. So I hesitate to, since they have already gotten their approval for the lighting up and down Main Street, and I would not want to cause a conflict with that. So I would be most comfortable just approving the four gooseneck lights. So having said that, I'll let you two chime in.
Well, I guess what I understand is these lights that are the string lights would come down if the foundation put up their lights. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So since there's one set of string lights that would be replaced for another set of string lights, I don't really have a problem with it. I drove by it. It didn't seem to be outstanding in any way. Wasn't glaring. And there really is a problem about lighting on Main Street. We need more lighting, period. So that's why it doesn't trouble me. And they have shown photographs of where there's a couple other places where those, and I don't remember the name, but we're talking about the hanging canopy lights
The gooseneck.
are already used. And that's why I wouldn't have a problem with them, is because it's not that inconsistent with the visual appearance of the place now. Yes, I'm troubled by the idea that the lights were already there and who knows how long, and other people have problems doing it. But hey, they're here, they're asking for a permit to put it in. So that's why I'm not troubled with it, is because you're going to have string lights when the foundation puts theirs in, assuming they do. So that shouldn't be a problem, because these would then come down.
Yeah, staff would just like to comment that we would agree with the comment made by Commissioner Carter, and that typically you don't see the bistro type of light as an architectural string light. Normally the bistro lights are hanging down from, say, an awning or under a building, as opposed to outlining the architectural art of the building.
Yeah, I rode by last night also on the bike numerous times just to kind of get a nighttime view. And I'm inclined to agree with Commissioner Keeney. I just think that the installation as it currently is, some of the bulbs are flipped. It is really bright. I came in uncomfortable with those lights as a facade feature, and I think that's where I still am. I would be inclined to approve the gooseneck lights, but not to approve these bistro lights as a feature on the building.
And the other concern I have is, let's go with the best-case scenario that the El Dorado Community Foundation's program does get rolled out. This is a different style. It's not just the Edison lights along the top. It bounds the bricks facade on all four sides, and so it's a much different look. Even if they say pulled off the top string and put in the architectural lights that were proposed for the Community Foundations project. Then you've got yet another element that would match, let's say, buildings on either side that just have the top illuminated, but then you've got yet another lighting element. If they decided to keep the side and then the bottom row of the Edison lights that exist today. So again, I think that's just going to make it even more chaotic. So I agree with your perspective, Mr. Carter, on just the gooseneck lights. So any further comments?
So there's two issues I believe I hear from you. One is because it's not just on the roof line. That's one concern. It's double area covering the top.
It's all four sides.
Yes. I try to verbalize what you're sketching with your finger. But the other is the brightness. So if the brightness issue were addressed by using lower wattage, would that make any difference to anybody? Because again, when I remember from the foundation, and the papers aren't in front of us now, but there were illustrations of other communities where there was more than one string of lights. It wasn't just on the top.
But their proposal is just on the top.
Beg pardon?
Their proposal is just for the top, just
Okay.
the edges, the top edges of the facades. So this is, what the Bricks Eatery has is a different style.
I would say the brightness for me is the least of the negative aspects that I see. The inconsistency of the bulbs and the just that string of lights is not necessarily intended for this purpose, and it doesn't. I don't think it looks very good. Those two factors are much more concerning than the brightness, in my opinion. So I don't think the brightness would address my concern on that.
If I'd known those concerns before, I might have viewed it differently as I drove by, but I'll defer to your perspectives.
Anything further? Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Carter?
I'm just trying to figure out how I would do that with this change. So I will start, and I will ask staff to help me as I go here to reflect the changes that we have discussed here. So I will move that we adopt the staff report as part of the public record. I will move that we make the following findings in support of the SPR 23-14 request, that the request is exempt from environmental review under CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, as the project includes minor alteration of existing private structure and shall result in no expansion of the existing use. That the project site, APN 003131009, located at 482 Main Street, contains a single-story restaurant, Bricks Eats and Drinks, located within Central Business District and downtown Placerville. Let's see, is this where I would insert that we're approving only the goosenecks and not the bistro lighting?
I would recommend that for, II, so 2, make the following findings in support of the modified SPR 23-14 request. And then
That would be under
in 3.
number 3?
Yeah, then when you get to the conditions of approval, that's where you would modify.
Make some changes, okay.
Yeah.
So then number 3, then the project request is consistent with the general plan community design guide element, goal B, and it is consistent with zoning ordinance section 10416. And then we would, I guess, add under item number 3, letter I, stating that the approval is for the, let me get the proper terminology for the gooseneck lighting. That the approval is for the addition of 4 gooseneck farm-style light fixtures along the front of the building. Tentative locations of these lights are provided in figure 2. Okay, so I don't need that, but, okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Carter, if
Yes.
I may interrupt, please. What I would recommend you do is on item 5.
Okay.
On page 7 there at the bottom.
Yes,
And where it states approval is based upon the analysis provided in staff's October 17th report to the commission and limited compliance with the project description and applicant submittal package. That's where I would suggest that we at least add a sentence saying that the approval is only for the gooseneck and the bistro architectural string lighting is denied.
okay. Then I will continue on to number 4, then, that the project request is consistent with the purpose, intent, and criteria of zoning ordinance 1049, and site plan review, and 10416, exterior lighting regulations, and 10514, central business district zone. that the approval is based upon the analysis provided in staff's October 17th, 2023 report to the Planning Commission and limited to compliance with the project description and applicant submittal package. This approval is for the 4 gooseneck farm style lights to be installed on the front facade, and trying to find the wording for the other one, sorry.
Bistro, market.
Yeah, rather than bistro, I think the staff report refers it to market. So you can just say the proposed market string lighting.
Existing string market lights.
Okay, and then not approving the existing unpermitted market bistro lights along the front facade of the
Is
building.
not approved and is to be removed.
To be removed.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. So that would be under item 5. And that we conditionally approve SPR 2314 located at 482 Main Street based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in attachment 1 of the staff report dated October 17, 2023, that we will have to amend in the following ways. We would be removing item number 2 because that pertains to the market string lighting, so that would be taken out.
So just end the sentence on the front facade of the building, period. Okay. Good.
Right, that's on item number 1, we would take out, so say after
The last phrase.
so remove and approval of existing market lights along the front facade of the building. And then item number 2, we would completely remove, because that, and then I think that all other recommended conditions of approval remain unchanged.
Staff would recommend that under condition of approval 1, item 5, that you would just put gooseneck lighting only. The proposed lighting specification sheets.
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. Under condition of approval number 1, item V or 5.
Oh, gotcha.
Proposed lighting specification sheets, September 6, 2023, we would just recommend gooseneck lighting only.
Okay, so adding the wording gooseneck lighting only after item V under number 1. Okay, so
Good.
with those changes, I believe that concludes my motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. We have a motion and a second,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Rivas, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
The motion passes 3-0. There is a 10-day appeal to the City Council of this decision by the Planning Commission, and I appreciate your patience, and I hope that, that we hate to disappoint you, but I think that the addition of the gooseneck lighting is going to be a real benefit to the look of the business, and we wish you success and luck in your project. Thank you. Moving right along, item 10.3. This is a public hearing for a special temporary use permit, 23-4, sidewalk dining. Consideration of a special temporary use permit application within the Central Business District Zone for a sidewalk dining area permit within the city's Main Street right-of-way, adjacent to the Bene Ristorante Italiano business, and to find the find the project categorically exempt from CEQA per CEQA guidelines section 15311. The location is 423 Main Street in Placerville. And again, Ms. Hunter has the staff report. I'll turn it over to you, Kristen.
Thank you. So TUP 23-04 is a request to permit sidewalk dining within the city's Main Street right-of-way to serve as an extension of Bene Ristorante Italiano. The sidewalk dining application will maintain the required 5-foot unobstructed walkway and includes 4 28-inch square metal tables with 2 chairs each, a 3-foot decorative fence, 12 feet in length, with a gate near the entrance of 423 Main Street, 3 6-foot square umbrellas fastened to the railing, and the serving of food and alcohol. Pursuant to zoning ordinance section 10-4-19 sidewalk dining regulations, any application for sidewalk dining that involves more than 2 tables or more than 4 chairs, or if alcohol would be served, requires Planning Commission approval. Sidewalk dining was first approved by the Planning Commission under TUP 17-04 for this site on December 19th, 2017, and included the same number of tables and chairs currently proposed, as well as the height and location of the decorative fencing. The duration of each TUP approval is 1 year from the date of approval, and as no extension request was filed, TUP 17-04 expired on December 19th, 2018. The second approval for sidewalk dining at this location was approved on February 18th, 2020, under TUP 20-01, and included the same specifications as the previous approval with the addition of 3 portable umbrellas. Similarly, no extension request was filed and the permit expired. However, due to the impact of COVID-19 on small business, the Development Services Department temporarily halted enforcement to assist businesses within the city. In July 2023, Development Services staff sent notices to correct to businesses along Main Street with unpermitted sidewalk dining, including the subject business. Following communication with the application was submitted on September 8th, 2023. It should be noted that to date, staff has not received any complaints nor identified any issues with the outdoor dining area or its operation. As such, it is the opinion of staff that the sidewalk dining furniture and barrier design enhance the streetscape. No physical changes to the building are proposed. The request is consistent with the land use and community design sections of the general plan, as the operation of sidewalk dining in the location is expected to attract customers and improve the pedestrian experience. The request, as designed, analyzed by staff, and as conditioned to include all development and operational standards under Section 10-4-19F, meets the stated intent of the sidewalk dining regulations and will enhance and enliven the Main Street streetscape. Staff has determined that the request is categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15.3.11, accessory structure, in that the project consists of the placement of minor structures accessory to an existing commercial facility, including chairs, tables, umbrellas, and wrought iron barrier. As such, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the staff report as part of the public record, make the findings in support of the Special Temporary Use Permit 23-04 request, and conditionally approve TUP 23-04 located at 423 Main Street based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in Attachment 1 of the staff report. This concludes staff's report on TUP 23-04.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Mr. Carter?
Thank you very much. I had a couple of questions regarding the conditions of approval, specifically starting with F. Can staff help me out with a couple of things here? So F says that dining furniture shall be placed immediately adjacent to and abutting the eating establishment and shall not be placed adjacent to the curb. Exceptions to this requirement may be made by the director for self-serve seating, i.e. no table service. So as it's currently situated, there are 2 tables against the building and 2 tables adjacent to the curb. Do we need to make, in addition to this, for an exception to their current seating alignment as it's set up now?
I'm not aware of this having any seating that's up against the curb.
Well,
It's all next to the building.
so you consider those tables that are against the fence on the curb side to be immediately abutting the building?
Well, in some situations, you may have where we have an exceptionally larger width of sidewalk, you can have tables and chairs that are closer to the curb.
Okay.
This isn't near the curb. It's all next to the building.
Understood. I just, that wording that's placed immediately adjacent to and abutting the eating establishment. I guess my concern, there's three items here that I'm a little, I don't want to put staff or the applicant in the position of immediately being in violation of the conditions of approval as they're currently written. And so I guess I'm comfortable with considering those tables that are against the fence to be immediately adjacent to the building. That would address that one. My next one would be G, where it says that the sidewalk dining area should be delineated with a non-affixed removable barrier / fence, for example, a planter box, et cetera. Each such barrier shall be easy to remove and store, and then the 36 inches in height is not an issue because that's what it is. Well, his barriers are bolted to the ground, which is also in violation of J. And so I guess my question is that do we need to make some changes to these conditions of approval? Otherwise, he's immediately going to be in violation of these conditions as his dining area is currently configured.
It is staff's understanding that the portion of the fence that bolted the sidewalk is within the property ownership and not within the city right-of-way. So staff
Okay.
feels it does comply. The applicant can probably substantiate that, but that's my understanding when this application first came to the city.
So that condition only applies to items that are within the city right-of-way?
That's correct. And also,
Okay.
it's a later condition of approval. If there's any permanent fixtures to remain within the sidewalk, then they absolutely must also obtain an encroachment permit from the engineering department.
Understood. Okay, that would address my concern then, 'cause like I said, I just didn't want to put the applicant or the city in the position where we approve these conditions and he's immediately violating them as is current. So I'm comfortable with staff's answer that addresses those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. I had some of the same concerns myself, Mr. Carter. Mr. Smith, any questions for staff at this time?
I guess what would be helpful is to know that this is exactly what was the case before. There's no changes.
Correct. This is the same application from 2019 or 2020. I can't remember which date.
The code just requires that we revisit the application because it is an encroachment into the public right-of-way. And so, as stated in the staff report, there have been no changes made to the original approval, and we received no complaints from customers or the general public, and staff has no concerns at all about its operation. It's been working very well.
I think what makes it different from other places was the unique architecture. Used to be max jumbos in the 40s, 50s, 60s. So it provides more seating than would be normally the case for any other establishment on Main Street. That's what makes it different. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the applicant to step forward to review the application or tell us anything that you'd like to highlight, and take any questions, too, from the commissioners. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you. Is this on? Yeah, there it is.
It is now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I truly believe that, year after year, it's a very nice social spot, has an artistic value, it really adheres to people enjoying their time outside, enjoying the architecture of Main Street, the bell tower, the surroundings, people watching, people socializing, walking by. The locals always know each other, it seems like, for the most part. Honestly, I've never really seen a negative impact. If I did, I'd probably ask.
So you're not proposing any changes at all from what's currently there, what has been approved over, actually, several different times now with under the TUP system. So that's, and it is, I have been there, and it is a very enjoyable spot. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Butler?
I would also note that I utilize that patio area quite often and love it. It's a wonderful addition and a beautiful location. As long as those concerns I had were addressed, I'm very much in favor and happy to.
Mr. Smith, any questions for the applicant?
No, I have none, because you're doing the same thing.
Okay, we appreciate you coming down and just being present. We have no concerns for you, but go ahead and take a seat, and we'll see if anyone in the audience would like to, no one has any questions about the application. Okay, well, then we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and bring it back to the commission for possible action.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Okay, I think we all are in agreement that this is a nice addition to our downtown. And again, I want to thank you, Mr. Carter, for going over those conditions of approval. I had some of the same concerns. But now that I understand that that concerns the city right-of-way, and of course, all the language about being at the curb and being in the pathway, that makes sense that the city has to protect that zone, so.
Did that address all your concerns about the conditions of approval also?
Absolutely did.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
None for me.
Mr. Carter, would you like to go 3 for 3 to make another motion at this time?
What the heck? Let's do
Okay.
it. Unless Commissioner Smith, you want to give it a stamp? All right.
Go for 3 for 3.
All right, then. I will move that we adopt the staff report as part of the public record, that we make the following findings in support of special temporary use permit 23-04. Find that the request is categorically exempt from CEQA per section 15.311, in that it involves the placement of minor structures on city sidewalk accessory to the existing Benet Restaurant Italiano commercial business. 2, that the project site, APN 001211011, 423 Main Street, contains a 3-story commercial building included on the city's historical resources inventory, and that is located within downtown Placerville. Number 3, the project request is consistent with the Placerville General Plan land use and community design elements, in that the project will improve the pedestrian experience, enhancing and enlivening the Main Street streetscape, and will attract customers and improve the economic vitality of, I would remove the Main Street and just say Main Street, but I don't know if that's really that important. Item number 4, the project request meets the purpose and intent of sidewalk dining regulations, zoning ordinance section 10419, pardon me, by allowing a limited encroachment of outdoor dining within, and I would take out into, the public right-of-way ancillary to the adjacent Benet Ristorante Italiano food and beverage establishment, where the development layout as proposed and conditioned does not unduly restrict public access or detract from the appearance of the surrounding area. And I would recommend, or I would move that we conditionally approve temporary use permit 23-04 located at 423 Main Street based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in attachment 1 of the staff report dated October 17th, 2023.
Very good. We have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the page 6, under the recommended Planning Commission action. This is probably what we've done every time, but just because the term right-of-way came up, it says, number 4, limited encroachment of outdoor dining within the public right-of-way. Staff, is this clear that, do we need to change that language at all to make sure that there's no confusion? What Mr. Carter and I just went through about how it's attached, and then you had
did state
explained
that it
to
was
us
all
that it's
owned by
actually
the-
within the property.
No, staff sees no issue. It's basically stating that it meets the purpose and intent of our sidewalk dining regulations by allowing a limited encroachment of outdoor dining within the public right-of-way.
So
That's what we're allowing.
This doesn't imply that they have to get an encroachment permit, and
They
we're
do have
saying
to get an
public as
encroachment
opposed to
permit.
city right-of-way.
They are required to get an encroachment permit.
Is that because of the umbrellas? Because or
The umbrellas and primarily because some
Because that is
components
in-
of the outdoor dining facility remain on the sidewalk. They're not pulled in at night.
yeah.
Like there's some places will just have a table and 2 chairs, and the table and 2 chairs are pulled in. A lot of people have merchandise and all kinds of stuff on the sidewalk, and not all of those have encroachment permits, but this is it's more permanently staying there. It's there 24/7.
And I see that we're covered by number 5.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd forgotten about the statement about obtaining an encroachment permit if the city determines that that's necessary. So we are covered for that. Okay, that is my only concern. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please, Mr. Rivas.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 3-0. Again, there is a 10-day appeal period. Thank you again for coming down, and we also want to thank you for that great dining experience and enhancing our business district downtown. Thank you very much. Wish you continued success. All right. And I just want to point out, Mr. Smith, even though Mr. Carter made all the motions and you second, you did get to vote first each time, so I hope that's some consolation.
Listen, I have sat in Commissioner Lepper's seat, so I'm glad to tell you I found some typos. There was wind and beer instead of wine and beer, so I felt like this is like transferring.
I'll just make a comment, staff is always happy to get those in emails, so that when I find those little typos, I like to just fire off, maybe compile them and send them off so that they can make those corrections.
It's funny because I'm famous for making typos.
Okay. Anything, let's move on then to item 11, continued items, of which we have none. Number 12, new business. The agenda says we have no new business, is that correct? Okay. We are moving right along to number 13, matters from commissioners and staff. We'll move to 13.1, which is staff reports. This item is for staff to update those in attendance, so the status of upcoming meetings, recent actions, and so on. And I'll turn it over to staff. Is there a staff report? Any updates?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have a number of items to report to the commission. One, we're very pleased about that on Monday, Monday, we received the Mackinac Hotel building plans, the second submittal. So there's now movement again. So we're very hopeful that the project will be able to move forward and we can issue a building permit so they can start construction.
And that's the Mackinac Hotel, you said?
Mackinac Hotel, the one that's located on Jake Way and Smith Flat Road. So very happy about that. The second item is Cottonwood phases 4 and 6. Escrow closed last Monday, and William Holmes has purchased the property from Veerkamp, who actually bought it and developed it, did all the infrastructure improvements. So now that Williams Homes is closed, they have already submitted model home plans to our department, and those have been reviewed and approved. And so we're expecting that they'll be pulling building permits to build a model home shortly, like probably within the next week or so. The map should record probably within the week. So very happy about that one. That'll be 39 new single-family residential lots. The third item is site plan review 2305 that was considered by the Planning Commission, where you were looking at the replacement of windows at 3176 Cedar Ravine, and the owner, Paul Coglia, he did appeal to the city council, and the city council then granted the appeal, allowing him then to install vinyl windows. And then the next thing I'd like to talk about is under Assembly Bill 1383. That's a cow recycle bill. The city's required to purchase compost, a certain amount every year. And so the city had a compost event at 580 Truck Street, and we had 20 tons delivered to a site that was prepared for customers to come and shovel or put in the buckets. It's certified organic compost. So it was we considered it a successful grand opening. It was from 11 to 2 o'clock. We had food there. We also had some educational booths. We had El Dorado Disposal, of course, was there, giving out information on recycling and how to dispose of green waste and food waste. We also had the Master Gardeners of El Dorado County had a booth, the Placerville Garden Club, and the El Dorado Beekeepers. We took a poll. We had about 100 plus people that came to pick up compost. We started with 40 tons of compost. We now have 20, so about half of the compost went into people's yards for gardening. We had about 100, and I think it was about 110 educational bags there that were available. We passed out 90. Some of the, we did have a poll, an exit poll, and so we had, people could choose from their overall experience, whether they considered it was highly satisfactory, neutral, or they felt the event was unsatisfactory. So we had 86% felt that it was highly satisfactory, with 14% saying satisfactory. So we're very happy about those stats. We did get some other information from the applicants. So overall, it was a great event. I encourage the planning commissioners and tell your friends that this is an ongoing program. So we will continue to be purchasing compost. I believe our required amount is 800 and some odd tons annually. So we're hoping to get rid of that and see it in people's yards and see it in the vineyards and see it wherever people want to augment their soils. So,
Well, congratulations on a very successful event. I have, is that the conclusion of, I had a couple of questions about the.
Sure.
Is it?
That's the conclusion of my report.
Obviously, you're not going to have a big celebration all the time, but is the compost going to be available all the time, or will the city announce when another purchase has been made?
The compost is available at the buyback center right there at the corner of 49 and Truck Street, so it's not far from the MRF. So I think the buyback center is closed on Sunday, so you won't be able to get in there on Sunday. So I think it's available most of the other days of the week that the buyback center is open.
But the compost is free.
Compost is absolutely 100% free.
Great.
So it's a real bargain, and it's certified organic. I want to emphasize that. I know they're home gardeners that they don't like using pesticides or different things, so this will maintain their organic crop.
Fantastic.
I was really sad that my mailer, that talking about that event, came the day after the event, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have been there, but I blame the mailman on that one. But yeah, I'm really excited about this program. I know it's mandated by the state, but I think that the way the city did it is going to be very successful, and I think people are going to take a lot of advantage of this. So I'm glad to hear it's already been, effectively used. So.
Well, it's a shame. I got my mailer in plenty of time, but I couldn't make it to the event. But
It literally came the day
certainly
after. I was like,
intend to avail myself of the free compost.
Yeah, the event was a grand opening. Like I say, you could go there, put a little compost in your vehicle, and you can enjoy some, food and snacks, and talk with some of the people that were there as well to learn more about what recycling is all about and that kind of thing. So we are happy about it. Ongoing program. So even though you missed the grand opening, you can still go there and get free compost. We're going to be bringing in more truckloads as soon as it dwindles. And in answer to your other question, we will probably have another spring event where we'll just, again, try and just bring greater awareness to recycling efforts and to the availability of the compost.
I think that's important. I don't see all my neighbors participating in the green waste program. And we need to make sure that they understand that connection between their household scraps that go into the green waste and gets turned into this organic compost that's really so beneficial, especially for the home gardeners. Maybe that's their connection. They're not gardeners, and so it's not as important to them, but it is a really important aspect to reduce our waste stream and greenhouse gas emissions. So, yeah, I'm really glad that the city took on this project. And do you know if El Dorado Disposal is able to expand it throughout the county, or is it just the city of Placerville with this green waste project?
Well, this is our main staging area for the compost. The city will be getting another grant that we're going to make application for, and so we're looking at maybe seeing if we can truck some of it over, a smaller quantity, of course, to say Lions Park, just to bring it in more closer into town.
Ah, okay.
And if anybody has any ideas of other suitable sites where maybe
Staging
we
areas
could
or
have a
something like
couple
that.
tons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of cities do have small compost staging areas within their parks, and so we'll be looking at doing that as well. But what comes in are one of the larger trucks that brings in 20-ton loads, and we couldn't get that in to say Lions Park and navigate the parking lot. So, but we'll be looking at doing that. I know El Dorado County is also going to be procuring compost as well, and we're hoping that maybe they'll find some sites, say in El Dorado Hills or Cameron Park, where you have a large concentration of population and a lot of very manicured, very nice pointed landscapes that could probably use the compost. So hoping there'll be another avenue to serve the residents at the western end of our county.
Fantastic.
So I have one last item, and so this item came at the heels of the appeal before the City Council on Site Plan Review 2305. And again, let me phrase this in a way so it's not to challenge any of the planning commissioners. We all understand everybody's trying to be very helpful. But where a commissioner wishes to submit anything in writing, we do have an ex parte communication issue where our city attorney said we need to get it in nice and early so that it can be made available to the general public. But the city attorney said that we really need to make a point that when you serve on the planning commission and you're rendering a decision on an application, that it's a collective decision. So in other words, the planning commission here's the applicant, reviews the application, considers public testimony, the staff report, and then makes a decision on whether to approve or modify the project. And so a commissioner then should not, say, address the council as an individual when they were there deliberating and debating on in a project. They should sort of recuse them or just not do that because, again, it's a collective decision. Each commissioner then shouldn't then go up and make their own case for how they thought that the item should have been decided. The only difference I would see there would be, say, for example, if an item is affecting or close to your home and you have concerns about that, then you would recuse yourself, and of course you would be, as any public citizen, being able to give comments to the rest of the commissioners, but you wouldn't be involved in actually going over the case. So I just say that is just passing it along from our city attorney. And again, if any commissioners have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, either here or offline.
Well, I was there and have a different perspective because what the attorney said was in the abundance of caution. So it wasn't quite as definitive as you described it. And I talked to him afterwards. In the code, it's section 10-4-9. It allows for a planning commissioner as well as a city council member to file appeals without paying a fee. Go figure. My comment was merely to explain my position. And it's not unprecedented. Joanne, I'm trying to remember the last name because I call everybody in California by their first name. But she was on the Historic Advisory Committee. And there were a number of appeals that came before the city council. So you'd have the position of the Historic Advisory Committee, and then you'd have Joanne Rogers offering her dissenting view, explaining it. So it's not unprecedented. I guess I'd also point out, I asked you in advance to want to make sure that the guidance was clear. In addition, I consulted an expert who works in this field. And while I cannot file an appeal as a commissioner, I could if I was a private party. And that's very appealing because for the rest of you to know, the city attorney's taken a position that unlike us, city council members can and do have ex parte communication. They can be lobbied, and they have been. One of the best examples was the case on Sacramento Street where someone sought to put in siding that was board and batting when it had vinyl windows. That's something I appealed. And then we find out in the course of the hearing that the applicant.
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
Beg your pardon?
I'm going to give you 1 minute. I am very uncomfortable with you arguing with our appointed city attorney, and I want you to keep your comments succinct and on point to that issue. If we get to the point where we need another workshop on ex parte communications, we can certainly have that agendized, and perhaps, city council would advise staff, to do that or not. I'll leave it up to them. But Mr. Smith, you're getting far off the point, so I want you to focus your comments on the interaction at the city council meeting and the submittal that you
Let's
had.
correct something. I did not argue with.
Right now, you're arguing, and I don't want to get off point, and this is not the correct
I
forum
think
for
that
us
for
to
the sake
debate
of
that.
civility, let's not make personal attacks.
I'm not making a personal attack,
we
Mr.
have-
Smith. I
when
want
we
you to
have-
stay focused to the issue at hand.
The staff made a comment and it was very personal, and I'm responding.
I disagree that it was personal. I think staff was being very objective. There was a letter that was given to the city council. The city attorney has weighed in and given their opinion, and that is their role. So in 1 minute, I want you to wrap up your discussion, and the rest of this will have to be taken offline or in a different venue than the Planning Commission meeting.
Yeah, Vice Chair Keeney, if I may, just on behalf of myself, but, I extend my apologies to Commissioner Smith. I tried to phrase and characterize it as a non-confrontational, not picking on any individual, just trying to reiterate the letter we received from our city attorney.
Well, Pierre, I talked to you in advance precisely to make sure that the procedures I'd follow would be correct. So if you have guidance to offer privately, that's a good place to leave it, and not at a venue like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
You-
Mr. Smith. I realize that this is a difficult topic, and I appreciate the city attorney weighing in on it, and Mr. Rivas, your report as well. The ethical issues that we have to respect as planning commissioners. I think we need to take these things very seriously and make sure that we are avoiding any possible conflict whenever possible. And so that's, I want to draw this topic to close. Mr. Rivas, do you have anything else to add?
No, that includes my reports unless Ms. Hunter has anything.
Thank you.
I would just add that we intend to have a meeting on November 7th.
We will have,
We will, and I apologize for all the confusion around that. We confirmed with Community Services, voting will not take place at that time. So we have the room, and we have a few topics to bring before you.
okay, thank you. Let me get back to our agenda that goes to 3.2, Planning Commission Matters. This is time for members of the commission to update others on the subcommittee work, particularly our special committee reports. So is there a report from the Historic Review Special Committee tonight?
I'm not sure it'd be very productive, for one thing, apart from the preceding discussion, but Michael Friend let us know via staff that he was not going to be available for the next two meetings. So although at the last meeting, he asked us to have a report, the intervening information was to hold off until he's back. We held off for several months because we were told that there'd be this joint meeting. I'll let you know that from my perspective, I learned nothing at the joint meeting that I did not know before or believed that commissioners and council members did not know, with the exception of the example of up in Grass Valley, which was merely alluded to. When we did look at it, staff and the facilitator turned out did not. When we looked at it, it's a good example of a way to approach the subject. To let all of you know, on that side, as an advocate, I oppose the Interior Secretary's standards being made as permanent, as mandatory. They're mandatory, the guidelines say, for historic federal buildings, but not for others. And however, my job is to follow the law as a commissioner. And what the last meeting was, if you followed that meeting, were comments about, well, it should go back to shouldn't be any later than the 1930s, et cetera. Those are things that is the responsibility all kinds of people, but certainly us, because it's mandated in the resolution that we were given a duty to do.
So there's not a special committee report, or what's the status on the committee report?
We're still working on that, on the list of priorities that we were directed to work on to bring back to you guys. And as Commissioner Smith said, we're going to wait until the chairman is back from his leave. And so you can expect to see that probably, I guess that would be December possibly then at this point. So we are going to wait for Chair Friend to return before we bring that to you guys.
Okay.
But we're still continuing to work on it.
All right, very good. Anything else? Mr. Carter, do you have anything to add under the Planning Commission matters?
No, ma'am.
All right, good. I don't have anything to add, so it is 7:37, and we stand adjourned until November 7th. Thank you all.